There's a countdown. I like it. I found the countdown. What's up? Good morning. Happy Sunday. My Cubs got a dub over those Braves last night. A little dicey there at the end, but Cubs come out with a W. And what's the standings now in the MLB National League Central? Are they 2 game and a half? Where are we at? 2.5. So did Milwaukee win? 2.5. 2.5. So Milwaukee's in first place. Those Brewers. The Cincinnati Reds are in second place. The Chicago Cubs in third place. Just 2.5 games out of the division lead. Only 1 game out of a wild card spot. And we still have how many games left? 57 plus 54, 111. 51 games remaining. I like those odds. Cubs are on pace to win 83 and a half games. My preseason prediction, 84. I like it. And we got Justin Steele on the mound tonight. One of my buddies in my Cubs chat pulled the Justin Steele rookie Topps Chrome rookie superfractor auto out of a break last night. So he showed that. I didn't see it until this morning. Phenomenal. Amazing. So it is Sunday. I'm going to talk a little wrestling today. We haven't talked wrestling in a while. Many are thinking, thank God we haven't talked wrestling in a while. And there's probably 3 of us that are like, yes, talk wrestling. There's 3 of us out there. Actually, there's a lot more closeted wrestling fans out there. Like, I'm surprised somebody will be like, hey, I love that you were talking about wrestling on the show. I'm like, oh, you like wrestling? It's like everybody's a closeted wrestling fan. Although the people that are not wrestling fans are kind of like the anti-Star Wars fans, right? Like me. And I wear it like a badge of honor, Star Wars, May 5th or May 4th, whatever the hell that day is that I dread on social media. And I always like to poke the chest of Star Wars and say, I've never seen a single minute of a Star Wars film, which is true. But I enjoy saying that because it really riles up some of the Star Wars people. Why would you say that? Really pisses some of them off. And I think some of the non-wrestling fans are the same way. Ooh, wrestling. Ugh. So I want to talk wrestling today, a little SummerSlam. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, shit, there was something else I wanted to talk about. My eBay sales have been surging, which there's multiple reasons why my eBay sales are up. Namely 2 reasons, and I'll talk about those 2 reasons. What else? Cubs won. I didn't do shit. I need to get out of the damn house. Here's the thing. For 5 days, I was in stimulus overload with my baseball card friends, baseball cards everywhere, just stimulus overload at the National last week. And then I come home. My wife's in France. I come home and it's just me and the dog, me and Biscuit. And I feel bad because Biscuit she's still acclimating to the new house. And we're humans. So deal with it, right? You move into a new house, deal with it. It's not so with dogs. You have to be gentle with the pups. So I feel bad, even going to the post office, Biscuit will get upset. Now, if there's not any workers at the house, she's okay. But if there's carpenters, Tuesday, I think I had somebody in the house and she that rattles her. Soon, Biscuit, we'll be all alone. And mom will be home. I shouldn't say mom. She'll get all excited. Mom's not going to be home for another week. So soon will be normal. Soon will be normal. So I haven't left the house. Like, I've gone to the post office. I've gone to the grocery store. Like, I can name all the places I've been in the last week since I returned home from the National on Sunday night. Almost a full week. I have been to the post office. I have been to the grocery store. I have been to Walmart. And I think that's it. Isn't that pathetic? Oh, I went and picked up pizza at Jet's Pizza. Oh, love it. Deep dish Detroit style. 4 places in a full week. That's it. I'm going mad. I'm going like The Shining. Okay, I'm not going that crazy. I've got my baseball cards to keep me sane. So, oh wait, I went to the gas station. I have gone to 5 places. I went to the gas station also. So maybe today or tomorrow I'll do something big. Maybe I'll call a friend. Hey, I need to get the hell out of the house. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But someday this week, I need to get the hell out of the house and go have some beers. So yeah, I've been going a little stir crazy. And that's what too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right? Like, I love steak. But if I ate steak every single night, I would not love steak anymore. And it's like, I love this house and I love my baseball cards, but it's like, oh, it's me and my baseball cards again. Like, I kind of need a break from the baseball cards. I love my baseball cards, but sometimes you just need to get away. It's like I'm jonesing for. I need to go buy a fiction, some crime fiction book, just to get away from sports, because that's all I've consumed. Happy Sunday. Where are we at in the chat? We got Matty Ice. Good morning. Hey, speaking of showing chats on the screen, anyone familiar with StreamYard? When I logged in this morning, I just happened to see in the bottom left corner that I've used like 95% of my space. My fear, like, I don't want to save it on StreamYard, but if it's already if StreamYard has pushed it to YouTube, can I delete that out of StreamYard? It won't affect my YouTube? Because I don't want to just start deleting videos from StreamYard to free up space. And then all of a sudden it's like, you go to YouTube, this video is not available. So if anybody's familiar with that, let me know, because I'm getting dangerously close to my maximum. Go Cubs go is right. Matty Ice. Look at Matty Ice. He's all Indiana and then the Cubs. But I guess Indiana doesn't have a baseball team, right? Unless you're over on the other side of the state near Detroit, could be a Tigers fan. So Matty Ice repping the Hoosiers. Oh, I don't have my Hoosiers. I think it's in the other room. I have a Hoosiers mouse pad. My wife is a IU alum. And I have an Indianapolis Colts pullover. So I have an Indianapolis Colts pullover. When I worked at Western Illinois University, traveled with football and basketball, we played Ooey Pooey in Indianapolis, IUPUI. And I did not dress for the occasion because it's a quick drive from Macomb, Illinois to Indianapolis, 4 hours, I think. So it's 4 hours. I'm going to bring a pair of gym shorts and a t-shirt and my suit that I wear on game day. It's like we're going to get there in the afternoon. I'm just going to hang out at the hotel, and then we got game day, and then we're driving home. So little did I know, I wanted to do something on that because I think we played on a Saturday morning. So Friday night, I want to hit up downtown Indy. And I did so in a pair of blue shorts. Well, it was really cold, and I didn't even have a long sleeve shirt. think I literally just brought gym shorts and a t-shirt other than my suit. I'm not wearing my suit. Gotta wear it to the game. So we went down to the Colts when we got there on Friday afternoon. We went down to the Colts Stadium. Can't remember what it's called, but the Colts Stadium. And I went into their team store and they had, it's like, I need something. It's cold. It's January. And I bought a Colts pullover. I still have it. It doesn't fit. I've grown a few pounds, especially in the midsection. So I do have an Indianapolis Colts pullover. Good morning, Kyle. What's happening? Dan in the house. He is back in Korea. I'm glad you have a safe trip. It was great seeing you again. My colleague picked me up and I'm almost home. I'm exhausted. I can only imagine. I've never flown to Asia, but just Europe, man. And that's probably what, half? How long's the flight to Korea? And you probably had a couple. I think you went Utah to California and then on to Korea. Because just like an 8-hour flight is like ruins a whole day for you. Me, at least, once you land. Kyle says, Summerslam. List more wrestling cards. Summerslam was last night. I don't think I have any. I have. I'm prepping my quarter boxes for the Janesville card show, which is Sunday, August 20th. Sunday, August 20th in Janesville. By the way, the next Madison card show, there it is on your ticker, is Saturday, August 26th at the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolan Drive. And speaking of the Madison card show, whoo, boy, lots of new dealers. Lots of new dealers coming in August. Let's go to the list. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 already. And I've got a couple that are pending. So probably another dozen first-time dealers at the Madison Card Show, August 26th. We're still 3 weeks out from that show. So it's going to be a fun show, good show. But back to Janesville on Sunday, August 20th, I'll be having more bargain boxes, new stuff that you haven't seen before, baseball, football, basketball, new non-sports box. I'm sorry, Matt. He asked me to bring. I actually found this. I still haven't found my original non-sports box, quarter box. It's in my card room somewhere. But I found another non-sports box that's filled with like 90s promo sample stuff from like Marvel and just random shit. That's all going in the quarter box. So that's all new. And hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I guess it's 2 weeks from today. In the next 2 weeks, I'll find the other boxes that I need. Also putting together, as Kyle mentioned, a wrestling box. I haven't been able to fill 4 rows. I already have somebody that's interested before it hits the show floor. So the wrestling box may not even make it to my table. Red Light 34, good morning to you. What's happening? Dan watched Star Wars on the plane. I hope you enjoyed it. Terry, what's happening? Good morning. Rich says, yes, you do need to get out of the new damn house. And here's the thing about being in the new house. I don't want to get sick of it all, a month in. It used to be an escape. Here's the difference. I used to love coming to this house and chit-chatting with the contractors and then going home. It was like being a grandparent. I was the grandpa of the house because I could come and go as I pleased. Now I live here and I just want the goddamn contractors to finish up and get the hell out of here. Now they're invading my space. It's a lot different now living here as opposed to just go, I'm bored. I need to get out of the house. I'll go to the other house. I don't have another house anymore. So I go to the post office. John's in the house. What's up, John? Never usually catch the weekend ones. Usually too busy with my rugby league team. It's a niche sport. Rugby, love it. Yeah, weekends are always kind of, although we've got 24 is definitely low for live viewership, but it is the weekend. It's probably average. And I am pretty much on time. I say 8:30-ish on Saturdays and Sundays. I think I was a little late yesterday, about on time this morning. And we'll be back on at 7 a.m. Central tomorrow morning. Jonathan the House, what's up? Good morning to you. Uncle Rich says, in Biscuit Bark, Biscuit has a new hobby. Biscuit has a new hobby. It's sitting at the front door, and we have like glass, like on each side of the front door, we have like windows, glass. We have windows on each side, like the skinny, narrow things. And so Biscuit likes to sit there and wait for dogs to walk by and then bark at them like she's this big, mean guard dog. I actually she was doing it this morning, and I took a photo and sent it to my wife, and I said, this is our dog's new hobby. Barking at the neighbors. See, where else are you going to get this great discourse? So hit that button with the likes. We are at 600, which is a Cubs pennant winning percent. I like it. I like it. Yes. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, all that fun stuff. Subscribe so you can hear more about the trials and tribulations of Biscuit, the best person in the Thompson household. Can't argue with that. Cannot argue with that. And I'm glad our Korean friend made it back safely. Dan is back in his homeland. Broncos in the house. Good morning to you. Who woke up sooner? You were Tim Anderson after that right hook. Was that a hook? I don't know boxing. Tim Anderson after Jose Ramirez dropped him at second base last night. That was fun to watch. That was fun to watch. I'm curious what your thoughts are. And wasn't it the 30th anniversary yesterday of the Nolan Ryan, Robin Ventura, or at least in the last couple days it was? What are your thoughts on fights in baseball? I'm okay. As long as it doesn't go into like, Uncle Rich will understand this. I didn't witness it, but I've, read a lot of books and newspapers and stuff like that on the 1970s NBA. It was like Fight Club. And I don't think sports should go to that, but it spices things up. It spices things up. I'm a fan of the occasional fight. It's kind of like in NASCAR. My dad was a huge racing fan. Loved NASCAR, would watch all the races. And I didn't. And so I'd be playing with my baseball cards in the other room. And if I heard my dad go, oh, that was my cue to run into the living room and watch the crash television. That's the only thing I liked about NASCAR was the crashes. Hockey. I mean, hockey's actually enjoyable if you go to a game. On TV, but I'll go to a hockey game. I've been to a few hockey games. I've never been to a NHL game, but I've been to a bunch of minor league games. The Quad City Mallards, the Peoria Rivermen. Those are the only hockey games I've been to, but they're fun. And the fights make them even funner. And last night's fight between Tim Anderson and Tim Anderson was acting like a badass, right? Whatever happened, I watched it multiple times, and I still don't know why the fight happened in the first place. And Tim Anderson's like, he threw off the glove, and he's like, let's go. And Jose Ramirez is like, okay, Tim Anderson. And he got hit pretty hard because he was a little wobbly legs. I like it. I mean, Tim started it, right? He's like, you want to go? And Jose's like, yeah. Pop. And Tim got like 2 punches in. Well, he didn't get them in. He swung a couple times. And Jose's like, oh, is that the best you got? Sorry, Tim. Rich says, frankly, Bo's discourse about being at home was the reason when I started at ComC as a remote employee, I wanted to have an office out of the home. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword because there's like no dividing. At least I will say in this new house, I have a dividing line. Like my office is basically this room, the eBay store in the other room, and then the card storage area. Like my rec room is now, I've got enough space that I don't need to sort cards in the rec room. Now I've got a box of cards out there because I'm watching SummerSlam and I'm sorting some cards. So there's a box out there, but there's not like stacks and piles everywhere. So that was actually a nice break because that made it feel like a hobby. I wasn't consumed with stacks of cards like at the old house. Upstairs is like the no card zone. Although since my wife's out of town, there's some cards up there too. Shit. I'm not following my own logic here. But essentially, I've got like this is my office. That's not my office. So there's kind of a dividing line. I didn't have that at the old house. And it causes you to go stir crazy. However, I'm weird in the fact that I don't need work-life separation. And neither does my wife. And that's why our marriage works. Because we're both independent and we both just enjoy work. So it's helpful in that way because otherwise I would never be home. It's like, I just want to work with my baseball cards. And yeah, I guess I could bring home a box or two and that, but it's nice to wake up in the morning and not have to put on pants and go to work, right? I am wearing pants right now. It made me leave my house. There you go. Oak Creek was a great show. A lot of good deals. I did hear that. I was a little... this is interesting. That's what I wanted to talk about this morning. That's the other thing that I wanted to talk about. Card shows this weekend. I think Dan, our friend US Sports Cards, tweeted about he's in New York and there were like no card shows in the entire state of New York this weekend. And so I'm like, I'm going to go because I know there's Oak Creek and I'm going to, and my thought was, I'm going to reply with all of the card shows that are going on in my little triangle, Madison over to Milwaukee, down to Chicago, and all parts in between. So I do that, and I go to cardshowmap.com. And what do I see? One card show in my triangle. Oak Creek was the only one. So let's, I'm on cardshowmap.com. Let's filter it out today. And here we are. So let's share the screen. So this weekend in the entire country, this is how many card shows there are. Not too many. Let's full screen it. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Look at New York all alone. No shows. Look at, and here's a good example of why, and this you can actually see better than like a normal weekend. There's just, this map is filled. But a big reason, and normally I say, well, card shows, the national doesn't really affect it too much. This, I think, is an instance where coming off the national, this is why there's hardly any card shows this weekend across the country, because dealers don't want to do a card. They're still unpacking from last week. Look at West, and people say, how come the West Coast needs a national? Look at the West. I mean, we don't even have to talk about the coast. Look at west of the Mississippi River. 3 freaking card shows in that huge, huge land space. Omaha, Salt Lake City, and Phoenix. 3 card shows in the entire west of the Mississippi. There, my friends, is why there's probably not going to be a national in the West or the West Coast in the near future. So I guess there were a couple shows in the, I guess there were, two, because that Wisconsin show's all the way up. Is that Stevens Point? Can't remember what show was up north in Wisconsin, but you see the one is Milwaukee, Oak Creek, and then I think maybe Schaumburg. Oh, more dogs walking by. But yeah, look at that. How many shows is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. About 24 or 25. And I think actually that one looks like it's maybe in Canada. I don't know. So about 25 card shows in the entire nation this weekend. And my thought was, and I had this conversation, I think, with my buddy Alex. He works for Car Dealer Pro, Delco Rips on Twitter. And he said, we were talking at the Collecticon, because he runs a show in Philadelphia. And we were talking about, scheduling card shows and all that. And he's like, I think I'm going to take July off. And I said, do the week before the National. And he's like, yeah, but people are getting ready. And I'm like, I've had big success on the Saturday before the National because people really want to get last minute inventory to take to the National. And it's not just dealers, it's kids, like teenagers that want to go to trade night. They're hustling, man. And so he did have a Philly show the week before the National. And he's like, dude, thank you for that advice. It was off the hook. I don't think he actually used the term off the hook. That's me. But he said it was, he's very happy that he held the show when he did. This weekend was kind of like the opposite. Like, you better not hold a show because I'm not in the market to buy anything before the National. And that's kind of like a common misconception. Nobody's buying in the month of July because they're saving all their money for the National. That may be true for some people, but I think that's a very in the minority statement. I think that's a very small percentage of people are holding their money back. I, on the other hand, I did business as usual. Like if a deal comes my way, I'm not going to go piss away money for nothing. But if a deal comes my way, it's not like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to buy this because I've got the National coming up. I'll spend my money before the National. This is also a business for me. And I'm not saying if I go to Janesville in 2 weeks, I'll probably end up buying something. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not actively seeking out deals. But if one, I'll sell you this whole table for whatever, and I'll be like, ooh, that's a good deal. I'm going to buy it. So it's not like it's kind of like it's business as usual, but there are times when I go to a card show and that's my sole reason. Like if I sell some stuff awesome, it'll offset what I'm going to buy because I'm going to buy. I'm buying. That's my reason today. That's not going to be the case the next probably 2 months as I try to purge some of this stuff that I bought at the National, just other stuff that's been hanging around. I'm getting to the point where it's like I've got too much stuff. And I've had so many people reach out. I've turned down so many deals in the last couple of weeks from the National until, I just had a text Friday night. Like, hey, I've got a bunch of 2015 to 2019 Bowman in bulk. I don't want that. So thanks, I'll pass. I'd probably be interested if it was 2022 and 23, but 2015 to 2019, I've got enough of that. And it's 2022 and 23 aren't selling. I'm not moving it very fast. I've got enough of that where it's like, I know some breakers probably have some paper base that I could buy, but I've got enough already. I don't need any more. Even the top guys aren't selling right now. I'm moving some Drew Gilberts here and there, Spencer Jones here and there. What else am I moving? I think my junior Caminero might be, I thought I priced him at $250. I'm going to look at that up right now because I haven't sold a single junior Caminero first Bowman paper. So that tells me I'm probably overpriced. I thought they were priced at $250, which is what my Spencer, but I'm moving Spencer Jones at $250. But that's my thought. Like, the going back to it, the week before the National, great time to have a card show. The week after, not so great. But it's good to see that Oak Creek was a good show, and I had some people that I know. I've got it $3 or best offer. I don't know why. And there's only 3 views. Did I spell his name right? I got 29 in my eBay store. I think I've sold 1. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. Crazy. Well, I'm just going to sell 12 Jackson Cheerios for $12. I'll accept that offer. So, speaking of Bowman, that was from last year's Bowman, 2022. So it's good to see that Oak Creek, but and I think that also goes in line. We just showed the card show map. There were 25 shows in the entire country. Let's bring that up again. You had Oak Creek. There's a show in the Chicago area. What show is that? Schaumburg. So that's today. So you have Schaumburg, and that's it. And Oak Creek was Saturday. Schaumburg is today. So there were no other shows in basically Illinois or Wisconsin. Actually, what was that other Wisconsin show that's up here? Elks Lodge, Stevens Point. Okay. So that was Stevens Point. So Stevens Point had a little bit, it's like 3 hours, I think, from Oak Creek, maybe 2. So yeah, good to see that Oak Creek was a good show. Wesley collects cards. Cubs got my Braves yesterday. Dansby had a great game. Big fan. I'm a fansby of Dansby. He's awesome. And I said it from the beginning, like out of the shortstops. This is why I'm selling baseball cards, and I'm not in scouting or in a front office of a baseball team. Of the shortstops in free agency, Dansby was number 4 on my list out of 4. And now, in hindsight, especially looking at contracts, he's 1. I'm glad he's in Chicago. Love Dansby Swanson. Ed's in the house. What's happening, Ed? Tracy is here. Good morning. About to church, so we'll have to catch up later. Have a great day. You as well. And it's Tracy's 50th birthday, the 5-0. Do they still do the closer I get to 50, I'm still 9 years away. But the closer I remember, like, maybe this is a generational thing. Whenever somebody turned, a lot of dog walkers out this morning. Whenever somebody turned 4, maybe it was 40, because I guess I was like 10. My parents, like people my parents' age, whenever they turned 40 or 50, it was like, over the hill. And there was like these mugs, like, you're 50, you're over the hill. That must be like, nobody says that anymore. Like, if somebody gives you please let me know if somebody gives you a black mug that says over the hill 50. Like, I don't think they make those anymore. That's like an old people thing. Apologies to the old people. But like my mom and her friend, like that was, oh, you're over the hill. Tracy's over the hill. Maddie Ice says happy birthday, Tracy. Bronco says happy birthday. Dan says it was a 12-hour flight. Oof. That's like on top of my 8-hour European flight. That's 2 more movies. That's like 6 movies. Woo. I got to be popping some sleeping pills for that flight. Donald Davis in the house. More dogs are walking by. Happy birthday, says Donald. Sheena's in the house. I'll probably see Sheena in Janesville in 2 weeks. And Sheena will be back as a dealer at the August 26th Madison Card Show. Poor Man Stack. What's up? Good morning. I like that name. Visit, but not stay. Big Harv, good morning to you. There's Dan. Dan's in the house. Big Harv says weekends are better for those of us on the West Coast. Yeah, I think that's probably the Midwesterners are probably like, screw it, it's the weekend. The West Coasters are like, hey, can watch live. Poor Man Stack says the school here in Alabama set the enrollment today, Sunday at 2 p.m. That is how my weekend is going in one sentence. That doesn't sound fun. Free boxing match. Right, yeah. You tune in for baseball and you get a free boxing match. As Andrea True once sang, Moret. I don't know any of that reference. I think that predates me. Uncle Rich says NASCAR was made by the famed fight at the end of the 1979 Daytona 500. Poor man Stack says he slept in. Yeah, he was a little wobbly legs after that hit. Happy Sunday, Ziggy Knows in the house. Hobby News Daily. Kyle's got to run. Looking forward to the replay later. We'll talk a little wrestling later. So that's what you get to look forward to, Kyle. Wrestling. How about those Cubs? And how did Paul knock out Diaz? Oh, was that fight on last night? Or are we talking Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez knocking out Tim Anderson? And the Cubs. Oh, love the Cubs. Big win for the Cubs. And we got Justin Steele on the mound today. But typically bodes well. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Peoria had a card show at Dozer Park on Saturday and a game after the card show. That was yesterday. They must not have advertised that very well because it did not show on cardshowmap.com. I did see, I think you posted it in the Hobby Evolution group. They did not advertise that very well at all. Who promotes that show? They did not promote that very well at all. Did it make the Beckett list? The Beckett calendar? Because the only, that's my area. And usually I'm pretty in tune with what's going on in Peoria. Let's search by state, Illinois. And the only reason I saw it was, that's next weekend, was your post in the Hobby Evolution Facebook group. I'm looking on the card show calendar. I did not see it. I didn't see it anywhere. So they got the October show. Yeah, didn't show unless it's already been wiped from Beckett, but I didn't see it. So that was a show yesterday as well. Big Harv, Donald, did you go? Did you go to that show at Dozer Park? I've noticed a lot of odd the West card shows don't end up on card show maps, but don't know of any going on this weekend. Which is weird because I think Card Show Map just is kind of like an aggregator from all of the other calendars, Sports Card Day or Sports Collectors Day Digest, Beckett, and all of those. So tell those promoters to promote their damn shows. Harlan, good morning. What's happening? Max, what's up? The other thing that a lot of people don't realize because they're so ingrained in the hobby is that believe it or not, there are people that go to local shows but don't go or know about the national. That's very true. And here I am talking because there were actually shows last weekend during the national. It's not like the world shuts down. I was actually talking with a couple promoters. I think it might have been last summer, last spring leading into the summer. Like, I wonder how a Midwest, like a big Midwest show would fare during the national. Like if the national was in Atlantic City, because a lot of people don't go. I don't think it would fare well. Even in Atlantic City, there were a lot of people that went to the national, and I just don't think people are going to travel in. And like the dealers that you would want that would travel in, you wouldn't have enough. It wouldn't work because the dealers that would be willing to travel long distances are going to be at the national no matter where it's at. So you're going to have a small pool of dealers, which makes your pool of customers, like if somebody's not going to go to the national, you're still drawing from the same basically geographic region. So I don't think a big show during National Week would necessarily work. I don't know. Maybe it would. I wouldn't want to test it. I wouldn't want to test it out. But yeah, I noticed that two years ago, 2021, I had the Madison Card Show the Saturday before the National, which was in Rosemont in 21. And I was shocked by how few customers walking the floor, or at least that were in my tables. Like, I'm like, oh, the National's next week. You go and they're like, oh, what? They'd either say, what's the National? Or I heard about it. I probably won't go. I bet 80% of the people I talk to, or more, we're not going to the National, probably 90%, not going to the National just 2 hours away down in Chicago. And I would agree with that. I think less than 1% of active collectors attend the National. Because you figure, let's just use the round number. We don't know exact numbers anyway for the attendance. Say 100,000 walked through the doors over the 5 days. Well, of course, everybody's counted in that figure. Guess what? The autograph, and they may say, oh no, that's paid tickets. Oh no. Every attendance figure is inflated. And they're going to count the ticket takers. They're going to account in all the workers. The autograph signers. Yes, Dale Murphy and Frank Thomas, they're counted among the attendees at the National. Your dealers are counted. And guess what? All of those dealers and all or most of those workers are there all 5 days. So it's not 100,000 different people that are at the National. It's 100,000 people over 5 days and say 40,000 different people. 40,000 because I'm a customer. I was there all 5 days. Many of my friends were there all 5 days. Many were there 4 days or 3 days. So say 40,000. And there's a lot more than 40,000 active collectors out there. So yeah. So I'd say 1%. I'd say 1% or maybe even less than 1% of active. And then you got to consider not just sports cards, because there's a lot of Pokemon dealers and a lot of Pokemon collectors. So how many active collectors in total for Pokemon and sports? Even though it's the National Sports Collectors Convention, there's Pokemon there. Max's point is next weekend. Oh, so my card show map numbers are inflated. August 6th. Oh, he's got the wrong date on his calendar. So he's got on the card show map, it says August 6th. August 6th. So, hey, if you want to go to Stevens Point, you didn't miss it this weekend. It's next weekend. So in Max, I assume, Max, you're setting up next weekend in Stevens Point, so he knows. Stuke in the house. What's up? Good morning to you. Bo, I just put into a group chat the Andrea True reference with the backstory. I will go back and read that. Thank you. Stuke wants to know, how do you like it, Rich? Max says, Peoria never saw a thing. I didn't either. The only mention I saw of that Dozer Park show was what Donald posted in the Hobby Evolution Facebook group. Donald did not go to the Peoria show. We had rain early Saturday morning. Yeah, Chicago had rain at the game at Wrigley. And it was sunny. It was like a beautiful day here in Madison. Didn't go outside. I took Biscuit for a walk. That's about it. I took Biscuit for a walk. I took the trash out. And I went to get pizza. I didn't even go to the post office yesterday. I need to get out of the freaking house. Monday night, I need to reach out. Is East Coast Tom in here? Tuesday night, maybe we'll find some trivia. So I won't go out Monday night. I'll delay it to Tuesday. Tuesday's a good trivia night. Although I wonder if there's any good trivia. There's now, I learned there's 3 Madison trivia. So I've always got to look, because my favorite trivia host, Randy, he does trivia down in Verona, which if I do trivia, I want to be loyal to Randy because he's the best trivia host, at least in Madison. Max says the big show dealers will be at the National, 100%. Even, I wouldn't even consider, a lot of dealers that are at the National, I wouldn't even consider big show dealers. There's a lot of dealers that set up at the National that are setting up at monthlies at hotel shows on a regular basis. Big Harv. And actually going back to that, I had always, unfortunately, my dates for a card, and this is another thing, and I've talked ad nauseum about promoting card shows and the ins and outs, but maybe there's one new person watching that hasn't heard me talk about that or doesn't know about it. But promoting card shows is not just, it's not as easy And for the national, people say it should be in Nashville. It should be in Salt Lake City. It should be in all these, and just start naming cities that they want the national to be. It's not that easy. And even for smaller shows, and I don't know, like I've heard some of the national promoters talk about it. It's like, oh, that does make sense. That makes a lot of sense. No wonder why. But even for me, I want to have a show that's 100 plus tables on a monthly basis. There's not too many venues in Madison, Wisconsin that has that fit the budget. And I often hear dealers or customers say, oh, you're really growing out of the space. You need to go across the street at the Alliant Energy Center. Well, do you know how much that costs? Like $25K to do a one-day show. Believe me, I've priced it out a couple different times. I got right at the end of COVID, when you get little discounts because there weren't very many events, and now there's no discounts anymore. And so it's about $25K to do a one-day show at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison. And I could get a lot of tables in there, but I'm going to have to charge $5. They charge for parking. It's $8, and I don't see any of that. That goes straight to the Alliant Energy Center. They charge for parking, $8. Who's going to pay $8 to park for a one-day card show in Madison, Wisconsin? Not many people. I wouldn't. Hell no. And I love card shows. So that was basically like, that's not going to work. I'd have to hire, I couldn't pull that off one man. Like I'd have to get volunteers or hire people, most likely hire people and there would definitely be an admission, probably be $5 to $10 to cover the cost. Tables wouldn't be $50 anymore. They'd be $100 at least, possibly $200. Who's going to pay $200 for a table in Madison, Wisconsin, where customers have to pay $8 to park? The money doesn't work. That's why your favorite card show may not be at the venue you think it should be at. So I'm at the Sheraton, which is a beautiful venue, great venue. I wish it was a little bigger. But I can squeeze in, we found out I could squeeze in about 140 tables at one of the shows. But if the fire marshal came in, he probably would say, naughty, naughty. So we're at 125. And I have to wrestle with, I have competition. Like I can't, because my card show doesn't make the hotel that much money. People aren't staying, a couple dealers will stay at the hotel. 2, 3, maybe 5. Maybe some out-of-town customers come in like, I'm going to stay at the Sheraton. That brings in some people, but not as much as a wedding. They're not catering my card show. We did a trial run for a concession stand, 2 months. They lost money doing it because they had to pay employees to run the concession stand, and they sold a few hot dogs and a couple sodas. And, we're not going to do this anymore. So it was a nice little perk, but nobody used it. So is it really a perk if nobody uses the service? Not really. And you can go downstairs. Like if you want a pop, soda, sandwich, candy, it's downstairs. Like you can just go downstairs and pop over to the fake Starbucks and get yourself something. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then also there's other venues that I'm very fortunate at the Sheraton where they have 125 tables and skirts that go over the tables and chairs. And that's not an extra cost. I don't have to rent tables from another company and have them move in. I pay a small fee to have them set the rooms up. So there's a lot that goes into it's not just like, I can pick a date on the calendar and pick a location and boom, off we go. There's a lot that goes into it. Big Harv says the West Coast will have a mini national on Labor Day weekend in Anaheim. They're talking like 900 tables. The Burbank show is essentially a West Coast national. And I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great. And a lot of like the national dealers from like the East Coast, probably not going to do Burbank, but you're going to get the big dealers from the West. And that's on my bucket list to get to one of the Burbank shows. Not going to happen this year, maybe next year. We shall see. I'm still penciling in November to go down to Dallas for the Dallas card show. Penciling in November for Dallas. We'll see. Once my wife gets back, once we still have contractors to come back to do some things. Thank God my wife is a saint. She's like, I'm not having any more contractors come, because it does when it's like the both of us here, like at least we can like each, okay, I've got to do that. Like I'm normally home anyway, but I'm home, I'm working. So, my wife's working a lot as well. So at least we can like tag team. And when it's just one of us, it's a little harder to manage work and contractors. And I really don't know what the hell's going on when it comes to like the finishes for like the cabinets. So my wife or mother-in-law can be like, and my mother-in-law is on the trip too. So there's typically 3 of us handling like the stuff. So it's just me now. So thank God my wife's like, okay, no more contractors until we get back. So let's see. So once we get back in the groove, I can make those plans for Dallas. It's crazy to me that there were people 2 hours away from Chicago or Midwest in general that said, I don't need to go. But I sold my extra parking pass to a guy from Australia. That's awesome. That is awesome. Stuke says they count the Minnesota State Fair the same way, attendance per day. If you go 12 days, you were counted 12 times. And that's just the way all attendance works. NFL, NBA, MLB, college, your local county fair, state fair, they all count it the same way. It's all inflated. This is how many people. It's the way it is. In fact, when I worked in college athletics, we would get the number of tickets, season tickets, plus tickets at the gate. And they would give it to somebody on staff. And one of our administrators would ask what the attendance or what the ticket count was. And it was heavily inflated. That's not right. I was there. That's not right. And in some cases, I knew the exact numbers. Okay, that's how many tickets were sold. Plus, all staff, players, coaches, referees, workers. It's like, okay, you just bumped the number up 3,000 people and probably 150 tops if it was basketball. So, yeah. I think some inflation is a little more egregious than other inflation on attendance numbers, but it happens at every event, even card show attendance. And that's what we're talking about, even card show attendance. Bronco says, next thing you know, Bo is going to go all Dave Meltzer on us. That's inside baseball right there. I bet most of the people watching or listening don't know who Dave Meltzer is and say there weren't 93,173 at WrestleMania 3. See, and that's the key. You've got to throw in those oddball numbers. Like, you don't want to say, if you say there were 90,000 people at WrestleMania 3, people would be like, oh, that's just a made-up number. But if you say 93,173, that's a legit number. That's also a sales strategy. When I worked in transportation, you wouldn't say, I can do this trip for $2,500. You would say, I can do this trip for $2,493. And they're like, oh, and just psychologically people think, oh, it's an odd number, so that must be accurate. Nay. If they are finally going to start moving the National around, they really should go to airline hub cities, Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, Dallas, LA, San Francisco. I don't think they're going to start moving the National around. I think it's going to stay in probably small handful of locations. Now they're talking, that there's new leadership in town at the National. So that could lead the way for some movement. There's a little bird. I don't know what kind of bird. I need a bird book. All these new birds in my backyard. Nashville was tossed around. Was Orlando? I can't remember. There were different cities. It's like, oh, hey, that's cool. Here's the thing. From a commuting standpoint, like, I don't care where the national is. Like, I mean, I care. The only part I care about the national is if it's not in like Skid Row, Atlantic City. I'm not going to go to Atlantic City because not only is it in like a shitty part of town, well, I think all parts of Atlantic City are shitty, but it's also a pain in the ass to get there. And like Big Harv mentions, hub cities for airlines. Like if it's an easy trip, although even like flights, because I'm not the typical, like, I'm going to go buy 3 cards at the National. I'm going to go buy 30,000 cards, and I can't fly back with 30,000 cards. Any way you put it, I don't think I could. So obviously I'm biased towards Chicago because it's an easy drive for me. But also like Rosemont is like O'Hare's right across the street. There's restaurants right in everywhere. Like, I mean, hell, we walked across the street one day for lunch at Murray Brothers. Now, Gibson's, which is right across the street, was packed, which it always is. But like Murray Brothers, we walked in and like hardly anybody in there. Like, yeah, there were like half the restaurant was full. So it's nice. That means there's enough restaurants. Like we went to Shoeless Joe's on a Saturday night of the National, just down the block. What, 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away? We got a table. There was a group of how many of us? 12? And we got a table of 12 without reservation. So that means there's plenty of spots in the vicinity. So I am a little like, I'm biased toward drivable cities because of what I buy. But I understand like not everybody's going to the National to buy, you know, and I actually 30,000 was, I bought 30,000. Actually, I bought, how many Cubs cards did I buy at the National? Nearly 40,000 Cubs cards alone at the National. And then let's see, the table I bought was probably 30,000 cards. Did I buy any other? And then I think it was just, you know, a few hundred here and there. So I was pretty close to 75,000. Yeah, probably 75,000 cards at the National I bought. I know not everybody's taking away 70. Now, in future Nationals, by next year in Cleveland, I won't be taking home 30,000 Cubs cards unless I get a good deal. Don't tell my wife. Shh. But I mean, I could take home 75,000 cards at next year's National just in inventory. Who knows? Like I don't go into the National and say I'm only spending this amount and I'm only bringing home this many cards. Like this is business. Like if the right inventory at the right price comes along, I'm buying it. With no one actually owning the National and leaving it up to the dealers to decide, they're going to stay in the Midwest since the cost of traveling with inventory is expensive. Absolutely. I'm still curious how the vote for 2026, is it 2026 or 2020? What the hell year? So Chicago, oh wait, Chicago's 25, Cleveland 24. Yeah, 2026. I have this inkling that Atlantic City is going to win. I just have this feeling. John says, are you considering going to the National in 2024 in Cleveland? Sorry for talking about the next National. Yes, I am. I will be going. I need to map out the area because I don't know the venue. I don't know anything about Cleveland. I've never been to Cleveland, which is strange to me. Never been to Cleveland. That's what I want to talk about. Like when I go to the National, like I don't care. Like, oh, there's so much to do. Like at the National, like why would I don't need to go to baseball games. If I want to go to a baseball game, I'm not piggybacking the National. Like if I go to Cleveland, I don't need to go see a Guardians game. Like I'm there to spend 5 full days in a hot, sweaty convention center looking at baseball cards. And then I'm going to go to my hotel and I'm going to look at the baseball cards over again and tweet pictures of them. So yes, I do plan on going to the National in Cleveland. My like dream, this is how pathetic I am. My dream is to rent an RV to take one of these trips. So then I can just bring home all the cards. So I'm looking at to renting an RV and seeing, I've got to compare prices. Okay, what's a hotel going to cost me? Is it within walking distance? If not, do I have to rent a car? What are Uber rides back and forth? I'd rather just rent a car. If that's the case over that amount of time. I just like the freedom of having a vehicle, but at the same time, having the freedom of a vehicle, yes, I have the RV, but am I just going to have to park it? And, is there parking for an RV at the convention center? Or, so I've got to look into all these things before, really seriously considering that option. But long story short, yes, I will be in Cleveland next year. Uncle Rich says, if you have season tickets to a sport, each game you go to counts as attending the game. Yes. So even if you don't, so say I have season tickets for the Chicago Cubs, and I only go to 6 games a year, and the other 75 games, I don't even go, and I don't even sell those tickets. Like, those are empty seats. Guess what? Those seats, empty, are still figured into attendance. So even if you were a season ticket holder, that automatically gives you, say you have 2 season tickets for every game in baseball, 81 games. That's 162, or that's 2 tickets per game. They're counting your attendance, even if you don't go. 76% of the population is Eastern or Central time zone. Yeah, just look at the population map. Where's the population? That's where it is. Max says, I still have not heard a good reason to move the National other than, it's closer to me, bring it out here. And that's basically the only argument there is for moving it really anywhere. Really anywhere. Because a lot of people say, well, even though, and going back to, I think, Big Harv, who's on the West Coast, even though LA, San Francisco are hubs for airlines, dealers aren't flying. Like, dealers have to, they don't have to, but most dealers drive to the National because you're taking a buttload of inventory. And you don't want to ship it. As a dealer, I wouldn't want to ship my inventory. I worked in transportation. There's nightmares. But there's a big what if. I understand. I worked in transportation, so. And I think I'm hypocritical about that, because I worked in transportation, and I say, I wouldn't want to do that because I worked in transportation. But at the same time, I have cards in my basement, and like plumbers, you see the worst of the worst. So you set your sights, but what if your pipe leaks? What if you have frozen pipes? I don't know and I know a lot of people. I don't know if I know personally anybody that's had a pipe burst. Knock on wood. Ooh, this is wood, so it's actually, I can knock on it. Knock on wood. I know it happens, but and I'm being hypocritical because here I am saying, well, I worked in transportation. I've seen the worst of the worst, and that's what I'm basing my decisions on. So I should stop doing that. Flight's not feasible for me either, and I'm not paying to ship value box stuff. Exactly. What I'm buying is value box stuff. I don't want to pay to put it on a pallet. O'Hare's perfect. Heard 0 people complain about logistics other than flight cancellations, which happen. Yeah, absolutely. Chicago is perfect. I think the National doesn't have to be in a different location every year. It's not the National to be close to every person in the country. It's the National because everybody comes to one place. That's what makes it the National. You don't have to globe trot all over. Conventions are held in the same and that's why conventions get sweetheart deals, and they get the dates they want year after year because they have their nationals, usually Vegas, every single year. Just make it Chicago every year. Yeah, I know I'm biased, but I don't think you'd get complaints from most people. Let's see. Uncle Rich says we'll know about October 1st where we are going for 2026. I'm going to say it. I think it's going to be Atlantic City. I really think it's going to be Atlantic City. And I think there may be some What's AIH say? What's the term he uses? I can't remember the term he used. Hanky panky? Is that what he uses? I think there might be hanky panky. And Atlantic City is going to get the National in 2026. Hanky panky. Neo Cards and Comics, or a channel with a name something like that, had a pretty good video with info related to hotels around the Cleveland area for next year's National. Interesting. I will check that out. Maybe we won't talk about wrestling today. I'm in Cleveland. There is no hotel with walking distance. You will have to rent a car. Okay. Well, that sucks. Or if I take my RV, is there RV parking? So I've got to figure in a rental car. Got to figure in a rental, because I'm not doing Uber twice a day for 5 days. I am not doing that. Sal Dougie's in the house. I did not know freaking Gorman Thomas was just a mile down the street from me at the National Mustard Museum, or the World Mustard Museum. It was National Mustard Day. And Gorman Thomas was in downtown Middleton. And I missed it. Sal Dougie was there. If I would have known, I would have meandered. I would have got out of the house and went to Mustard Day. Let's see. Bronco says that was the main point of the video, in some of the areas where there are clusters of hotels and what is around them for food entertainment. Very good. So I guess that helps you pick, even though you still have to rent a car or Uber. At least you know what is where. Max says Cleveland is actually awesome, though, too. I wouldn't mind it if it was just those two locations. I've never been to Cleveland, so I can't offer any thoughts on Cleveland. LA is too expensive. New York is too crowded and expensive. AC is crappy. I agree with all three accounts. Although I've never been to New York, but I bet it's crowded. I've seen it on TV. It looks crowded. Call me facetious, but I think AC was decided before the vote even happened. I agree. I also think that. And I think Atlantic City will host the National in 2026. There was the, I don't know if it's still up, but the Convention and Visitors Bureau of Atlantic City already has it on the calendar in 2026. So it was spreading on Twitter before the National. Look, Atlantic City's promoting, and the vote hadn't even happened. I'm going to use air quotes. The vote hadn't even happened yet. And I watched some of the meeting they had with the dealers on Tuesday night. Somebody was streaming that. And I'm like, are they? And then all of a sudden, we're going to pay $1,000 of your booth. So I think it's already in the bag. Atlantic City, book it, 2026. I'm saying it. And yes, I think it was decided before the vote even happened. Little hanky-panky. I think there's a little hanky-panky with Atlantic City. John says, if I go to the National, I'd need to stay downtown and make a proper holiday. So I'd be going to the Guardians games, going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and probably spending more time in Uber. So John, and by the way, John is across the pond. John is in the UK. So that I can understand. Like for me, Cleveland is Cleveland. It's 8-hour drive, I think, from Madison, 10-hour drive maybe. I think Pittsburgh is 10 hours, so maybe 9-hour drive to Cleveland. So I think Cleveland and Pittsburgh are what, an hour? Yeah, hour. I think they're an hour apart. So for me, it's just like, hey, can drive. But if you're flying across the pond, 7-hour flight, 8-hour flight, 6-hour flight, whatever it is, you want to make the most of it. You don't want to just come over and hang out in a stinky convention center all week. I get it. And I like this part. Maybe make the Madison Card Show as well if it's the week before. As long as my venue is available, the Madison Card Show will be the Saturday before the National because it's proved to be a win-win. So hopefully I can make that happen next year. Grinding for good in the house. What's happening? We are not going to talk about wrestling today. I can hear the chorus of cheers. Yay, no SummerSlam talk. They usually shuttle you from the hotels to the show. You should not need to Uber. I don't want to shuttle either. Although if there was a shuttle, that would be nice. I could park my RV. Well, then I'd have to park my RV. I'd have to park my RV in like a hotel parking lot and hope not to get busted. Oh, you know what? If I went with a friend, if he got the hotel, I could be like, but if he flew, I could just say, hey, when you check into your hotel, you don't have a car, so you can use my license plate at the check-in. So then I can hop on the shuttle. Game in the system. That's how I'll get around renting an RV. I'll just park in the hotel parking lot, have somebody that flies in. John will stay in the same hotel. John, I'll be in the RV. You put on your check-in, like, I'm in the RV outside. And they'll be like, that doesn't make sense. Like, just game in the system. Tanked Up Threads, what's up? First time live watcher. Love it. A lot of info. What's some hints on pricing bulk? Penny per card, what to avoid? That's a great question. It's so hard to really like just give you a broad term. If it's a quarter box, if it's a decent quarter box, and I guess decent is a very subjective term. If it's a quarter box that I know I can turn on eBay for $1.50 to $1.75 per card, I like to pay a penny per card. If there's a mix of like commons, then I'm looking at like 2 or 3 cards per penny. So 1/3 of a cent, 1/2 cent per card. If it's dollar box, it depends. Like some people put quarter cards in top loaders and call them $1. And those are tables I just like, okay, these are shit. You just put lipstick on a pig. That's what putting lipstick on a pig is in bargain boxes. You put a quarter card in a top loader and call it $1. So it just kind of depends. But quarter cards, if it's stuff that I know sells on eBay, and that's, you have to kind of know what sells on eBay, then you can say a penny a card, and that's pretty fair. A lot of dealers will scoff at that. A lot of dealers will be like, hell yeah, how many boxes you want? You just got to find the right dealer. So what to avoid? The lipstick on a pig. Avoid those boxes that are quarter cards dressed up in a top loader that are on sale for $1, because those are fake dollar cards. Max says the only negative I have on Cleveland is the 10 to 15 minute drive from downtown, but that's nothing. I mean, yeah, that's the drive I have to downtown Madison, 10, 15 minutes. Let's see. Big Harv says they should just do what every other convention does and permanently move to Vegas. No, that would be terrible. Because you're limiting everything. Because every other convention doesn't have thousands and thousands of inventory to take with them. There may be some, but I mean, most of these dealers are driving. They don't want to drive literally across the country. So that would not work. Vegas would not work. Just, I think the West Coast in general, there's a reason the National hasn't been to the West Coast in how many ever years. It just doesn't work for the dealers. Let's see. Stormin Gorman was there. Had him sign his 82 Diamond King, and he also signed our mustard jar. Such a nice dude. That's very cool. That is very cool. Max says the $1,000 booth discount was their way to make it seem like it swayed dealers. I think you're right. They're like, how do we cover up this mistake that we put? Because they put it on their calendar, and all of a sudden people started seeing it, and it went viral on Twitter. Oh, the National's already been decided for 2026. Wait, we haven't even voted yet. Okay, what can we do? Because the dealers are going to say, we're not voting for Atlantic City again. How do we fix this mistake we just made? Oh, let's throw in $60,000 or how many dealers are there times 1,000. You are correct, sir. I didn't think of that part. You are correct, I think. Max says to John, if you stay in downtown Cleveland, most of that is very walkable. We walked to all of those 3 years ago. Let's see. AC New Jersey would be a Springsteen tour for me. There you go. I would park the RV at the show, put your stuff in the RV each day. If I could do that, I would. That would be ideal. That would be ideal. But I don't want to stay in the hotel. See, the point is saving the hotel money because I'm staying in the RV. That's the whole point. I want to sleep in the RV. Thanks for the info. Lipstick on a pig. Yes. Vegas is dangerous as well. Would suck a lot of money out of the room. Plus, with how heavy kids have been the last year or two, doesn't sound great. Tanked Up Thread says, you obviously buy a lot of bulk. Do you ever sell bulk? I do. Or like you've said today, you just don't buy unless an insane deal. So I typically only buy if it's a good deal. I'm not going to buy just to buy. Like one of the dealers reached out to me this weekend and said, I've got a bunch of 2000 because he knows I like Bowman. I've got 2015 to 2019 Bowman. It's like, I can't do anything with that. I'd have to pay something like that. I'd have to pay like $50 for. I'd have to pay $50 for like 10 monster boxes because it's not going to sell. So I've got to, be very in that case, I've got enough of that stuff anyway. I've got a huge room full of junk that doesn't sell. So I've got to be careful with what I buy. I do sell bulk, and I'll sell bulk for like 8 to 10 cards for a penny. And there's some good stuff like the next bulk. And I've got a guy that buys like a truckload from me. It's 150,000 to 200,000 cards. And I charge $500 and he's bought like 3 or 4 from me. And hopefully he'll buy another one here soon because I need to make some room. So that's kind of what I sell, say 150,000 cards for $500. And I think it's a good deal. This one there's going to be, because I'm just like, I just need to get rid of this stuff. I'm not going to list it. Could put it in quarter boxes, but I'm just going to haul more quarter boxes. So just dump it off in bulk. Park the RV at a Walmart and you're good. That's my initial thought, because parking RVs at Walmart, you can get by with that. So that would kind of be, how close is a Walmart? And then, but the Walmart's not close. I can't take a shuttle. Do I Uber? How much is the Uber going to cost on top of my RV rental, as opposed to just renting a car and getting a hotel room? Well, if you stay at the RV, make sure it has a shower. Well, obviously, that's the whole point. Full bathroom with a toilet so I can poop in the morning and I can shower, put on my deodorant, go to the card show. I have to shower every day. To some people, that may sound, what? That's a waste of water. I'm going to tell you what, I have to shower every morning, although I haven't showered yet this morning. But if I take a shower and say I'm like, the very rare occasion that I like get sweaty from working in the yard or moving boxes, although I did it a lot in the month of July, moving in here. And it's like, I got to shower. I shower at night. I shower again in the morning because it's like a wake-up call. Let's see. Donald says, put the National in the central United States and close to a major city that has enough hotels and restaurants and a major airport. Boom, done. Rosemont, Illinois. Just do it there every year. Every stinking year. Yes, I'm biased, but I don't think many people would disagree with that. It's just an easy place. Easy place. So that's what I had for today. No wrestling talk. You escaped the wrestling talk. We still went an hour 20 and didn't even talk about wrestling. So for those that the one of you that wanted to hear me talk about wrestling, SummerSlam was last night. I didn't even know about it. I saw one of my friends was there and posted a picture, and I didn't think about it. And then for whatever, I think I just turned on, maybe I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, is SummerSlam tonight? So I'm like, it'd be a nice little escape. It's not a baseball game. It's not me staring at cards. So I turned on SummerSlam. I actually enjoyed it. I don't watch much of the current WWE content, like really at all. I watched some of the premium live events that were formerly called pay-per-view. But the Battle Royal, like I'm like, oh my God, because I didn't know the card going in. So it was all like a surprise to me. And Battle Royals typically suck. And because you just put like 20 or 30 dudes in the ring and then it's like chaos. I love the Royal Rumble, but Battle Royals in. But last night they had a Battle Royal and it was great. And then I hate Sheamus. Oh, I just hate him. Maybe it's his red hair. I don't know. But there's something about that guy that I just don't like. It's like, God, can he just retire? Sheamus. And Sheamus is one of the last guys in the frickin' ring. It was Sheamus, LA Knight, and another guy that it's like, these are going to be the final three. It's never a surprise. It's always the same guys. It's like, let's push some, like Bronson Reed. Or like Omos comes out and he's like a giant and he's like, oh, he's going to win. But at least it's like go in and freaking dominate. Like Andre the Giant wins Battle Royals because he's 7'3" and huge. And he was dominating early and then it took like everybody in the ring to eliminate him. It's like, oh man, I wanted him to like throw everybody out and just be this badass Battle Royal guy. But I think LA Knight won, which I'm glad because I think it was LA Knight and Sheamus. At least it was LA Knight, not Sheamus. So LA Knight won. What else was there? The Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler had MMA style fight. That was like oh, okay, this is good. Shayna Baszler won that. Baszler, whatever. Shayna won. What else was there? Cody Rhodes won. That was a good match. It was good. I enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed the SummerSlam. John says, have a great Sunday. That's the wrestling until we go 2 minutes of an hour and 22 minutes, 2 minutes of the topic wrestling. Max says, I think the other place that could argue for it would be Nashville, but I've never been, so I couldn't say one way or another if it would be good. And I don't know about that either. I've heard Nashville's a great city. I know the Nashville card show's really up and coming. And that's a city that I like. It's on my bucket list. I need to go. Tom, we talked wrestling. We talked some wrestling. Steve says, start a Kickstarter to fund a camera crew to follow you around with all the RV stuff. I can imagine some Top Gear, the Grand Tour vibes. Wouldn't that be fun? That's like my dream was to buy an RV and like have the 1 million Cubs logo and like the count to one, kind of like going back to wrestling. Remember in 1994, Lex Luger, the Lex Express, and he like tours. I would tour to collect Cubs cards. But now I'm almost there. And it's like, well, shit, now I can't do that. But that would be fun. That was like a dream. I can hear my wife's eyes rolling somewhere in France. So that's what I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great Sunday. We'll go back tomorrow live at 7 a.m. Central. I don't think I'll be interrupted this week. My wife returns, I believe, Tuesday. I believe next Tuesday, a week from Tuesday. So there may be some interruptions with Hobby Evolution because I think the trim carpenters are coming back to finish the cabinets upstairs around the fireplace, and they are early birds, like 6:45. And I may just be like, garage door. I'll just open the garage door when I wake up, and they can come in and do their thing. And it can't be a Hobby Evolution without Low Roller Scratcher saying, list more hockey and soccer. So with that, I think that's a great way to end the show. Tune in tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Visit my eBay store. 99-cent cards will get you there. Link is also in the description to this video. It's been a massive weekend in eBay sales, partly to do with all of the new inventory I'm listing, and partly that eBay's impressions are no longer suppressed. So there are many more eyeballs on my listing. So it's been a massive sale. I'm going to be shipping forever, it seems. But I do have another batch of like autos that I'm going to list at cheap prices. And you can get them even cheaper if you buy 7 or more at regular price. You'll get 25% off at checkout. Link is in the description. It's also at that link, 99centcards.com. With that, I'm out. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you tomorrow.